Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is the Price Variance Show, and we're going to be looking at three independent comics each. And hopefully we don't have the same ones, but generally what it is books that we think are really cool that are maybe a little bit off the radar. They're books like that are not from the major publishers. They're kind of more the obscure titles, and ones that we maybe enjoy through the art or through the story themselves. So with all that being said, I'm going to let Mark show his first book or series or whatever it is. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I am going to show you one. It is the world's longest running comic. Do you know what it is?
Gru?
No. It is on issue 4174 currently.
4,000?
Yeah.
You got me then. Okay, so this is something I didn't know. So this is good. This is good trivia.
Okay. It is a British comic called The Beano. Started in 1938. It's a comic for kids that started in 1938, and it is still going today uninterrupted. And it is currently on issue 4174. It is officially the world's longest running comic. This character on the front here is, this is actually a comic. This is actually an issue that was produced to celebrate 80 years of the Beano, which was 5 years ago. Actually, this was produced in 2018. Wow. It's now in its 85th year. So this was a really nice 80th anniversary issue, and they sort of reproduced 8 comics, one from each decade of its production in this particular comic. Its most famous character is this character here, who's called Dennis the Menace. Is not the American Dennis the Menace. This is this is the British Dennis the Menace. He didn't appear He didn't appear until 1951, so it had been going quite a few years before Dennis appeared. A good trivia question is, what character appeared on the front page of the Beano #1? And the answer to that is Ego the ostrich. Actually, I was at a pub quiz where that came up, and I was the only person who knew the answer. Okay,
wow,
one of the reasons I'm showing this is that I'm going to the London Spring Comic Con tomorrow. And one of the main artists from the Beano, a guy called Nigel Parkinson, is going to be there. Now, I've actually met Nigel. Is the current artist for Dennis the Menace. He's been the artist for Dennis the Menace since 1999, so he's been doing it for 20 odd years.
Wow!
And I actually met him at London Comic Con in September, and I got him to do a drawing of me as Dennis the Menace.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to see him again tomorrow. I'm going to get him to sign my 80th anniversary issue of the Beano, and I might get him to do another sketch. So there we go. Wow. The world's longest running comic, 4,174 issues and still counting.
Wow, that's very useful, because now, like, if I go to a pub and they ask some random weird question like that, I'll totally know the answer. Cool. Wow. I never even heard of that comic at all.
There you go.
Is it one of those ones that hasn't really left England?
Oh yeah, it's a UK comic. Yeah. I'd be amazed if you find anybody except for British expats who've ever heard of. I would imagine a few comic historians will know the Beano, because it is the world's longest running comic. It's been going since 1938. So, you know, if you're into sort of comic history, and if you're a comic geek,
which I am,
which you are, now you know what is the world's longest running comic.
I'll pretend that I knew, but I really didn't know it. So that, I mean, it's just, to me, it's fascinating, because you know, it's one of those ones that you never heard of, like, and the fact that it's been like running for so long.
Yeah. I mean, it isn't superheroes. It is a comic for kids. and the characters
yeah.
generally are kids.
Does it remind? It kind of reminds me, just strangely enough, it kind of reminds me of Captain and the Kids. Just the look.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's an American comic from the 30s.
I don't know. So, but yeah, probably. I mean, you know, another famous here's Nigel Parkinson. This is the guy I will see tomorrow. He's featured in this comic.
And is it similar to Dennis the Menace in terms of story?
Yeah, I mean, Dennis the Menace, the UK one, he's probably a bit. It's similar. Yeah, he's like a
mischief
naughty,
and
yeah, he's a naughty kid.
Mr. Wilson always gets mad at
him.
And
he's got yeah, exactly. And there's a neighbor who he annoys all that. So there's some similarities.
So probably the American Dennis the Menace is maybe based on
probably, because I think ours was 1951. When was your Dennis the Menace?
I think it's 50, like early 50s, but like maybe 53. I think 53. So it's
similar. Like, I mean, our Dennis the Menace has got a dog who is probably equally famous called Nasher.
There's a dog in Dennis the Menace.
Is that okay? And he's sort of black sort of pooch thing here.
Okay.
So another famous sort of skit on this is a bunch of school kids called the Bash Street Kids, and they, you know, constantly
getting in trouble,
playing tricks and getting on their schoolmaster and that type of thing. So, you know, themes for school kids down the ages. It doesn't matter whether you're a school kid in 1938 or whether you're a school kid in 2022, you're still going to play tricks on your teacher, aren't you? So, you know,
yeah, so that's cool. I mean, that's really interesting one that I never knew. So your comic choice actually influences what I'm going to show now.
Okay.
Because I was going to show like a certain set of books, but since you showed that one, I'm going to keep within your theme a bit.
All right.
I'm going to show some not kids books, but kids like kind of that art style, I guess, like not like more cartoony, more like. So the one I'm going to show is University number 2.
Yes. Okay. So this is Frank Cho. So I don't think this is for kids, Alan.
This is not for kids. See, I didn't say it was like for kids. I just said it kind of has that cartoony. Actually, kids would enjoy it. If you read this series, it's this was his first, when he released it, this was the first version, but it became later known as Liberty Meadows.
Oh yes, yeah, you've shown that.
Okay.
You've shown some of that.
Yeah, so this is where the characters were first introduced. This is their first appearances. And it's basically, it follows like a group of misfit rescue animals. Like they're neurotic, they're kind of crazy, and it's really interesting. Like there's one that's always like trying to do some kind of take over the world kind of craziness, and
yeah, is that
they're just different animals with weird
in the middle of the picture? Is that a beaver?
Beaver.
With the red
this
hat
guy
on.
Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pig.
That's a pig. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure the pig is like a germaphobe, like neurotic in terms of like I'm going to die at any moment. I think so. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while. Like I read a bunch of the strips from it. It's like basically it's like a collection of strips. He used to create things for the Washington Post, and then cancel culture got him.
Okay.
I guess he said a couple things that were just like, actually I couldn't find anything that was that outrageous. It's more like the animals being silly. And and there's a little bit of like the main human character is her, okay, and then there's a guy who's kind of like Frank Cho. He's like this nerdy guy that's sort of in love with her, and he keeps on fantasizing about them being together.
Okay.
And I guess that's very Me Too-ish or something. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not sure what was the issue that they had. But they got it canceled from Washington Post. But it ran for a while. It was very popular. actually increased the subscription rate of Washington Post. It was that popular. And he said, okay, screw you guys, I'm gonna do my own thing. He, it ran for a whole bunch of issues, like 37 issues, I believe.
Yeah.
So I collected the whole thing. It's worth reading. It was actually one of my viewers that recommended it, because they know I like good girl art, and Frank Cho is known for good girl art.
Yeah.
Actually, the weird thing about Frank Cho is his girls are a little bit more meaty, or a little bit more like muscly and fit kind of girls, not like more Amazon-like, I guess, would be the way of seeing his girls. They're not like the twiggy kind of like J. Scott Campbell style.
Yeah, no, I love his Sheena, Queen of the Jungle stuff.
Yeah. So he does really great stuff. I really like Frank Cho. I've been collecting his stuff. Actually, since we're talking about cool Frank Cho stuff, I got also this one.
Oh, okay.
So this is like, that kind of book about art, one of his art books showing all the girls. So that's, I don't know. So that was my choice. University number 2. It's the first appearance of all the characters from Liberty Meadows. So It's kind of a cool book. Nice. And they're good. They're short. Like, normally you have to read like 30 pages, which is, that's a lot of effort. Yeah. So this is more like 1 or 2 panels. It's like a strip.
Yeah, it's like a newspaper strip. It was designed as a newspaper strip.
Yeah, so
3 panels, short, 3 or 4 panels.
Short, cute stories. Yeah. That very short, almost very bite-sized. So it's quite good. Okay, that's mine.
Right. Okay, my second one is and I'm going to show you this is from a company called Scout Comics.
Oh, okay.
And they do these boxes. They describe themselves as the Image of the 21st century. So they're a bit like Image. There's a number of companies associated with them, and they'll sort of publish creator-owned stories. So this box here contains one of my, I have to say, I think this is great. When I first read it, and I read it last year, when it it's called Once Our Land, okay, and it originally appeared as 2 issues. It's by this guy Paul Rike, I think he's called, and it is so different. It really is different. It's one of those stories where the art sort of tells the story, and it's very different. It's sort of set in an alternative world in Germany in the 1860s. And this character here, the large guy here, is called Victor. And effectively, when we first see him, he's a boy. And he sort of descends into this underworld and releases these creatures onto the land that are sort of monsters that sort of take over the land. And when he reappears, we find he's a sort of 50-year-old sort of Viking type creature, and he's been fighting these monsters. Anyway, he joins up with this girl here called Ingrid. And in issue 1 and the first sort of this is 2 comics. It's just 2 comics, and Ingrid and there's one of the monsters here that they fight. I don't know if you can see it, but Ingrid and Victor fight off these monsters, and they discover that these monsters have got a weakness, and it's salt. So if you attack these creatures with salt, a bit like slugs, they sort of they dissolve,
shrivel up and die. Yeah.
The artwork is very original. The story is very original. This was, and he originally only intended it as these 2 comics. These went really expensive. This sort of went up to like $150 an issue. Wow. It's optioned. It's optioned for an animated film, and because of its popularity, he then did a second volume. So there is a second volume of Once Our Land, which is 4 issues. And this sort of follows Victor and Ingrid sort of 6 years later from the first story. And another great story, fantastic artwork. And I presume the animated film is going to cover both the first and second series, and this is the final one. Of course, you can get them as trade paperbacks. So there's a trade paperback here of the first volume. Also, this company, Scout's really interesting. They do these things here, which is it's called a card tag. And basically, what you can do is you open this up, and there's a little card inside. And it's got a digital code. It's got a code on the back. You go to the website. You put the code in, and basically you can download the comic. So actually, for volume 2, I didn't read the copies I've got that can keep them nice and minty fresh, but I read it online using the card tag. So that's the first time I've done that. I know you read it digitally on the line all the time, but that was quite new for me. So yeah, that's Once Our Land from Scout Comics. It's been optioned for a couple of years now. So hopefully we'll get it as an animated movie in the next.
I'll have to pick it up before it goes up crazy price.
First issues are quite pricey. They've come down a bit because everything's off its peak, but it's
okay. That's good.
It was an independently produced comic, and it was quite low print run, so that's presumably why it's quite pricey.
I get the Comic Tom like mystery mailboxes, and in the mystery mailboxes they always include one of those Scout comic
tags.
Yeah, so it's very useful. You can read some random, and it's like a trade paperback, so you get the whole series sometimes, right? So
I also
depends on what the tag is.
Yeah, I do recommend Scout Comics on Whatnot. If you ever go to Whatnot, they do a show on Whatnot. So I got this box, and I really quite like these boxes they send me because they're sort of customized boxes. This one is customized for Once Our Land, and I got this box. Issues 1 and 2 weren't in it. I bought those last year, but the whole of volume 2 and the trade paperback were in here, and I got this for $38. So
very cheap.
Yeah, so I recommend going to Scout Comics, and they sell these boxes on Whatnot, and they're cheaper if you buy them on Whatnot generally than if you buy them on their website.
Oh, site, yeah. So is it one of those mystery boxes, or is it a box what's going to be inside?
They do some mystery boxes, but actually they also do these ones which are specific comics. So this one was Once Our Land. They also do Stabbity Bunny, if you've ever heard of Stabbity Bunny.
Yeah, I know Stabbity Bunny. Yeah.
Yeah, so I picked up issues 1 to 10 of Stabbity Bunny in a box for $35.
That's a good price.
Yeah, and there were 3 metal covers in there. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Cool. So they will do mystery boxes, but they also do one specific to a title.
Cool. So okay. That's okay. So I'm trying to think of what kind of would balance that out in terms of the books that I brought. Like I have 6, I brought 6, you brought 6.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So I'm thinking another kind of cartoony one, kind of fantasy. I'm thinking that's kind of
fantasy. Yeah.
This is ElfQuest Quarterly number 1.
Yeah.
Fantasy Quarterly number 1 is ElfQuest. So back in the 80s, I was a big Dungeons and Dragons guy. I found out recently that a lot of those original Dungeons and Dragons books, like first prints, are quite valuable. And I actually have them all because I was a big D&D dude. I would always be my brother would be like the dungeon master, and my sister and I would play. And when he killed off one of my characters, I cried for like a week. The typical childhood. So this is Wendy and Richard Pini, the ones that created ElfQuest, and it's kind of like it's that whole like Dungeons and Dragons kind of feel to it, really. It's a bunch. It's really focusing on the elves and their stories, and it's interesting. I enjoy it. I like ElfQuest. So I just recently picked this up. Actually, I had picked up other issues of ElfQuest back in the 90s, but this was one of those books that kind of eluded me for a while, and I just kind of bit the bullet on it. So I was like, it's recently, this one's kind of skyrocketed in recent months. I don't know why, but it just, for some reason, it's gone up crazy. I was lucky that I just got it before it kind of spiked, and I got a nice signed copy. So it's like, signed by both husband and wife. So, yeah, so I thought this is a good one. Definitely one if you like Dungeons and Dragons, if you like Lord of the Rings or any of those kind of stories, you'll probably enjoy ElfQuest. So ElfQuest, and this is from 1978.
Yeah,
so that just around that time when TSR and all that Dungeons and Dragons stuff came out, right?
That's quite, Dungeons and Dragons wasn't much earlier than that.
It's around that. It's 1978.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got quite a bunch of ElfQuests as well for the same reason. I was into Dungeons and Dragons, and it was sort of Dungeons and Dragony.
Yeah. It's like the fantasy realm. Yeah.
Right, my final one for your show, Alan, is something that I collected back in the day. So this was one of the comics that was on my pull list for a couple of years, just before I stopped comic collecting when the kids came along. And this is Kurt Busiek's Astro City.
Okay, I know this one.
Yeah. So, and this is the first issue of Astro City. Really nice. It's Alex Ross artwork. So for quite a few, I think the first 20 odd issues, it was Alex Ross. So quite a really nice cover work on these Astro Cities. This one's really nice. This is a character called Jack in the Box. Yeah, and this is a lady called Winged Victory. So it's about a city. Beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice, that one. This is about, it's basically, he's created his own superhero sort of universe based around a city called Astro City. So it's about the people in Astro City and the superheroes that protect them. The sort of Superman type one is called the Samaritan. There's a number of others. There's this is a nice cover. So it ran for about, I think the first volume was 6 issues. Then it started up under Homage, which was part of Image, I think. Yeah. So this was the first one under. This is another really nice Alex Ross cover with the hero.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Alex Ross's artwork. So
so you've got a double hit here. You've got Alex Ross artwork and Keith Busiek's Astro City. These are really early issues. This has had over 100 issues, Astro City.
Oh, I didn't realize it. I thought it was only
I've only got the early ones because I stopped collecting. But it currently carried on. There's been about 100 issues, and it has been optioned for a TV series. We haven't heard anything for about 18 months, but this is one character which I really liked. This I don't know if you can see this cartoon lion character here. So his sort of story arc is somehow during the 1940s he was a cartoon lion, and he got created into a real character, but he still looks like a cartoon lion. And in this story, he's sort of running a sort of speakeasy bar.
Yeah, it looks like that.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, so there's some really nice stories in here. Some really good sort of standard superhero type stuff, but quite a lot of it you see from the ordinary people in Astro City. So you'll occasionally see it from just an ordinary person in Astro City, their view of what's going on. So I really enjoyed Keith Busiek's Astro City. It was on my pull list for a couple of years before I stopped collecting. And I just got them out of the attic. The other one, we were talking about indie comics. I thought, well, yeah, I remember Astro City. And I'll probably go back and read these because I didn't enjoy them at the time. Quite cool stories.
Yeah. Good recommendation. Okay, so I guess I'll show my last one. I'll try to keep it cartoony, not really, none of these cartoons are really meant for kids, but but this one is a little bit, this one's more fun.
Yeah.
This is let me just take it out of plastic actually. This is the Tick.
Love the Tick.
Yeah, he's awesome. You know, he has the brain of a tick basically. So you know, actually I was collecting this really early on. Like this is from 1988.
Yeah.
And I started collecting it in around 1990, so a couple of years later. And I didn't even know that this book existed. This special edition one.
Yeah.
So I'd gotten like numbers 1 to like whatever it is, like I think it's 20. I think it's 1 to 20. And I thought, oh, I have the complete collection of the Tick. And, you know, there was always like 20, 30 different prints. Like they would constantly print it out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They didn't really print enough of them because it was one of those ones that I don't think they realized it would be so popular.
No, it was an indie comic, wasn't it? What are the companies?
It's London, the New England Comics, yeah. So, yeah, it's one with like the quirky superhero, you know, and a lot of quirky villains and stuff like, and they you know, you talked about things being optioned. Well, they've actually had I think it was like 2 series.
Yeah, I liked it. I really liked it. I like the cat. Yeah. I like the actor who played the Tick. I've forgotten his name, but he was really good at it. Yeah, it was good casting.
I think it's interesting in the series. His costume is changing because it's like, you know, we're not really sure how the costume looks. Kind of almost feels like there's a back end story that's happening that they're not really sure if they got the Tick costume correct. And so it keeps on changing in the series. And they're commenting on the fact that his costume is changing in the series. I think it's kind of funny. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because he's like his own kind of hero. And then there's his sidekick, who doesn't have any superpowers or anything, but he's like just sort of tagging along almost. It's like,
well, he wants to be a superhero, doesn't he?
He wants to be a superhero, kind of. He's a bit neurotic, but but he's sort of being tagged, you know, sort of dragged along.
What's his sidekick's name? It's annoying me. I can't remember. Is it
Arthur?
Arthur, yes, it's Arthur. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a good series. I think it's up to season 2 or 3 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched the first 2 seasons and I thought it was fun and kind of silly. You know, he's just he's a muscle bound idiot, basically. Is a good way to describe the character, but he's lovable. You know,
he's lovable. Like, he's thick but lovable. His heart's in the right place, isn't he? His heart's in the right place, and he's
brain is elsewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Tick is just a really great one. If you know, this one is actually kind of interesting as a collectible because it's the special edition. It's the first appearance of the Tick, and each of these books was signed and numbered. So they were like numbered. They were printed with like, so this one is number 3,553. So there was only 5,000 that they printed of this first appearance. So it's kind of a rare book, and quite pricey as a result. I was really lucky. I got this on Heritage, and I guess nobody decided to bid on it. I got it for a reasonable price, but so I was quite happy to get it. So that's my story about it. Okay. So any other final comments before we wrap it up?
No, that was a very good pick. I like the Tick. I've got one which got basically a hole in the middle of the comic.
I think that's number 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's one of the early ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, I bet you there's somebody at some printing press somewhere who had to cut the holes out.
I know, it'd be really annoying. It'd be so annoying. I mean, it's a great series though. So thank you for coming on the show. We're gonna now go over to your channel. The link will be below. And we're gonna do 3 more each of underground kind of indie comics. Maybe some kind of titles that you might want to check out. I mean, Mark seems to be showing a lot of things that are being optioned, so these are maybe great specs if you're into that, side of it. So again, thanks again, Mark, and See you on the next
Pleasure.
video.
See you on the other side.